Hi everyone and welcome. This is Francesca from Social Work Portal. If you're a social worker, therapist, case manager, or mental health professional, you've probably heard the term biopsychosocial model. But today we're going one step further. We're talking about the biopsychosocial spiritual model, and more importantly, how to actually use it in your practice. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what this whole person care framework is, why the spiritual dimension matters in mental health and social work assessment, and how to apply it. So let's start at the beginning. What exactly is the biopsychosocial spiritual model? Think of it as a 4-lane highway for understanding a client. You've got the biological lane. That's their physical health, genetics, and medical history. Then the psychological lane, their thoughts, emotions, trauma, history, coping patterns. The social lane, their relationships, family dynamics, socioeconomic status, cultural background, and social determinants of mental health. Then there's the 4th lane. That can often get left out, the spiritual dimension. Spirituality in this context isn't just about religion. It's about a person's sense of meaning and purpose, their values, the practices and communities that sustain them. For many clients, this is the thing that keeps them going through hardship. And if you're not asking about it, you're missing a huge piece of their story. The biopsychosocial model definition in social work practice has always emphasized person-centered care, and the spiritual model takes that even further. It's about seeing the whole person, not just the presenting problem. Okay, so why does this matter clinically? Let's talk about the research for a second. The National Library of Medicine has published consistent findings showing that people with strong spiritual or religious engagement report better mental health outcomes, higher resilience, and a greater ability to cope with chronic illness and trauma. It's not just a small finding. That's a clinically significant pattern across diverse populations. And here's the thing, this isn't just about clients who are religious. The spiritual dimension in mental health is broader than that. It's about meaning making. It's about what a person believes about suffering, about hope, about their identity. For some clients, that's rooted in a specific faith tradition. For others, it's found in community, nature, recovery programs, or deeply held values. From a culturally responsive social work practice standpoint, this is huge. In many communities, spiritual identity and cultural identity are interwoven. Spiritual well-being and mental health are connected. The biopsychosocial spiritual model gives practitioners the language and structure to honor that connection professionally. Now let's get practical. Here's how to actually conduct a psychosocial spiritual assessment. Think of it as 4 distinct areas you're gathering information on during intake and ongoing client contact. First, the biological. You're asking about their medical history, current diagnosis, medications, and any neurological or genetic factors that might be relevant. This is the classic clinical history section. Second is psychological, mental health history, any trauma they've experienced, how they regulate their emotions, what their thought patterns look like. This is where tools like the PHQ-9 for depression or trauma screening tools come into play. Third, social. Who's in their corner? What does their living situation look like? What's their cultural background? Are there social determinants of mental health, such as housing instability, poverty, discrimination? And 4, spiritual. This is the dimension a lot of practitioners skip, and it's a missed opportunity. You're asking things like, do you have a spiritual or religious identity? Is there a community or set of beliefs that gives you meaning? How do you make sense of suffering? You don't need to share their beliefs. You just need to create a space that's safe for them to share theirs with you. When you gather all four, you have a genuinely holistic client assessment that supports better biopsychosocial spiritual case conceptualization from day one. And putting together a biopsychosocial spiritual model assessment doesn't need to be difficult. If you're using a case management software such as Case Management Hub, you'll find an existing psychosocial assessment that you can then add biopsychosocial questions to and spiritual questions. So all you need to do is edit and then add in the spiritual questions that you'd like to ask. So what are some of those questions you should put on your biopsychosocial assessment? Social workers often ask, how do I actually bring up spirituality without it feeling awkward or imposing? That's a great question, and the answer is structure helps. There are two widely used clinical tools for this: the FICA or FICA spiritual history tool and the HOPE questions. Both are designed to help practitioners raise spiritual needs in a clinical assessment naturally and respectfully. FICA stands for Faith, Importance, Community, and Address. It's a set of prompts that helps you understand the role spirituality plays in a client's life without making any assumptions. The hope questions cover similar ground: hope and meaning, organized religion, personal practice, and the effect on care. The key principle behind both tools is cultural humility. You're not there to judge, evaluate, or share your own beliefs. You're there to understand your clients. So let's take a look at some of those questions. Are there spiritual or religious beliefs that help you during difficult times? Is there a faith community or group that plays a role in your support system? What gives your life meaning and purpose right now? How do your beliefs influence how you think about your health or this situation? And a good open-ended wrap-up might be, is there anything spiritual or personal I should know to best support you? And especially for practitioners working with a trauma-informed whole person care model, this kind of questioning is especially powerful. Clients who've experienced significant loss or trauma often find that spiritual meaning making is a core part of how they survived. So let me give you a real-world example of what inserting the spiritual model into your biopsychosocial assessment looks like. Maria is a social worker at a community behavioral health center. She's doing an intake with a 52-year-old woman who's experiencing depression and was recently laid off. The PHQ-9 score comes back with a moderate range. Maria's standard biopsychosocial assessment is fairly complete, but then she adds one more question. Is there anything that gives you a sense of hope or meaning right now? The client pauses for a moment. Then she says her faith community has become her lifeline since the job loss. That one answer changed everything about the treatment plan. Maria was able to identify a major protective factor she would have completely missed: a connected and supportive community that was already in place. That's the power of the biopsychosocial spiritual assessment. Now let's look at a comparison table that will give us a nice overview between our models. The biomedical model covers the biological lane. The biopsychosocial model covers 3 lanes: the biological, psychological, and social. But the biopsychosocial spiritual model covers 4 lanes, making it the most complete social work assessment framework for the whole person and person-centered care. It includes the biological, psychological, social, and spiritual. If you're working in behavioral health, community mental health, hospice, school social work, or really any setting where you're working with the full complexity of a human life, this is the integrative mental health framework you want to be using. Okay, so now you've done the assessment. Documentation is your next step. How do you document it well? Documentation is where good clinical work either holds together or falls apart. Here's 4 practical tips for documenting a biopsychosocial spiritual assessment in a way that's consistent, clinically useful, and actually serves your clients over time. First, use standardized forms that include all 4 dimensions. If your intake form doesn't have a spiritual section, practitioners will skip it. Not because they don't care, but because the workflow doesn't prompt it. Build it in. Just like I showed you in the Case Management Hub, using a digital form, add the questions to the form. You can even make those required if you like. Second, track spiritual well-being over time. Just like psychological systems can shift, spiritual needs can change, especially during grief, recovery, major illness, or identity transitions. A one-time note isn't enough. Third, quote the client. When you capture spiritual content in their own words, such as, client states prayer is the main thing keeping them grounded, it's more accurate and more respectful, and more useful for the next practitioner who reads the record. Fourth, document spiritual support systems as part of the social network. A faith community, a chaplain, a spiritual guide, these are all real parts of a client support system, and they belong in their case record. For organizations managing large caseloads, having the right social work practice management platform in place makes all of this significantly easier. We'll talk about that in just a moment. So now let's talk about putting the biopsychosocial spiritual model into practice. With the consistent documentation, organized records, and real follow-through on client goals. To do all that easily requires the right tools. Case Management Hub is an all-in-one social work practice management platform designed specifically for social workers, therapists, nonprofits, case managers, or anyone that works in social services or mental health. It gives you everything you need to document holistic assessments, write case notes, track client goals and progress, manage scheduling, run reports, and more, all in a secure, centralized system. So instead of juggling spreadsheets, paper forms, and disconnected tools, your whole team is working from one place, which means less administrative burden and more time actually serving clients. If you'd like to give it a try, just click the link in the description below to start your free 21-day trial of Case Management Hub. No credit card is needed. Just create your account, invite others if you like, and explore the platform with your team. Thanks so much for hanging with me and watching my video. If you like this type of content and want to learn more about social services and nonprofit tools and resources, like this video and subscribe to our channel. You'll never miss one of our new exciting videos.